So yes, now I have some agents who have been in it 15, 20, 30 years who are coming to me and saying, hey, Carrie, how do you do this? Or what do you put your phone on? Or would you recommend this or that? But at the start, it was, who is this? Like, what is she doing? This is kind of embarrassing that she's doing this.
People don't realize that like YouTube in itself is a job. They like, it's like, that is my technically full-time job.
Yeah.
So to be a real estate agent and to have YouTube, like something has to give. You're at the point now where you're like, you do need a team, like you need a filmer, you need an editor, like you have, because it's the only way you can grow both at the same time.
Is everybody somewhat re-energized and fed? Good. I was fading a little bit at the end of the last one, but I think it was a fairly good discussion. I learned a bunch from Tom in terms of just stats, and you know, his approach to real estate I find is very interesting and unique. And one of the reasons I invited Carrie and Chris is I think their approach to life is unique. Carrie's a real estate agent in the Peterborough area. Chris, I guess, what would your title be? What are you?
I'm not sure. It changes all the time. Some people call it content creator. I started making like videos and photos, so videographer, photographer. Yeah. Some people call it influencer, but I'm not a huge fan of that. Content creator is probably what I'm at right now.
Yeah, and I think, Carrie, when we first met, I think one thing that was interesting about you is you're somebody that is always searching for new ways of doing things, right? Your background was in sales, right? Was it dental?
Yeah, dental management.
Dental management. Like Sandra, and I connected you and Sandra actually ages ago, and you were coming into the real estate industry, and we'd had many conversations about how to approach the real estate industry. And following you online, I think you've done a great job creating a social media presence for yourself. We talked about authenticity. I guess the first question I'll have for you is, how has social media changed your business?
It is my business.
Yeah.
It's actually quite funny. I get a lot of people actually in the Peterborough area that I haven't met, or I'll go to an open house and they're like, oh my gosh, I saw you online, or I saw you on YouTube. Love your videos. I was just at skating with my daughter and connected with someone who I haven't seen since dentistry, actually, 15 years ago. And she goes, I just want to say the videos you do are fantastic. I'm sure that's why you're doing really well in real estate and that sort of thing. And I just thought, I'm just being me. Like, I'm just putting who I am out there. A lot of it has to do with Chris. He said, when you're doing real estate, you got to do videos.
Well, it was the plan when you started, right? Like, yeah. Peterborough was kind of an aged market, and it was very obvious that there wasn't really anyone there doing anything social media related.
Sure.
So when one of the first things that we did for you was like, let's make you a really like funny kind of intro video, and that was like the first thing you dropped, and it was like there was an immediate like, oh, okay, this is how we're doing it now, and that really took off like immediately, right? So
what was the concept for the intro video?
I will say, people did hate me a bit when I first started.
Do you remember there was a Dollar Shave Club when
they
first had that ad, and the guy's like walking through the warehouse and he's like 5 different scenes. He's basically saying like one paragraph of text and just 5 different scenes.
Sure.
Just copied that.
Interesting. And just cutting through the different
Yes, and there was even like, we were on vacation and we came up with the idea and we're like, let's shoot a scene now. And like, I had some camera gear with me, and we shot one aspect of the scene on the beach. So it looked like we went really all out on this video, when just like 3 weeks earlier, we kind of shot this one scene there.
Yeah.
But no, it came off like as a hit for sure.
Why do you say people hated you when you did it?
Because no one in Peterborough was doing video. We're pretty archaic. I don't know if anyone knows Peterborough at all.
Give us a snapshot, I guess. Give us a snapshot of the Peterborough market, population, real estate type, styles.
Now, like, only in 2024, we're getting videos.
Agents are starting to do videos.
Starting to do video.
Yeah.
For the longest time, people were doing cell phone pictures. Realtor.ca was, you just put it on Realtor.ca and that sells the house. And I was like, that's it.
No marketing, right?
No marketing. I just couldn't believe that they only had one thing that they were using. And then my first thing off the hop was, yeah, I did a video, and it was kind of like, and I still remember I said 98% of the I'm Carrie Brockhurst, like 98% of the population. I too am a real estate agent, because I felt like everyone is a real estate agent. especially because I haven't been in it that long. Like this is my 3rd year. And it was that COVID kind of craziness. Everyone was getting into it. And I just thought everyone's going to think,
Just another person.
just another person getting into real estate. So when I did get into it, I will say I was not very light mixing things up.
Neither was I. Like, I'll be straight up honest with you guys. Early on in my career, I remember I watched Frederick Eklund do a video in Aspen. And I was like, nobody's doing listing videos. 2013, I think it was $1 million listing. And I called my videographer at the time and I was like, we're doing this. And he's like, you're listing a $400,000 house in Stony Brook. Like, how are we going to do this? And we'll figure it out, right? We just did it and came up with the concept. And it was 47 Virginia Lane, still on YouTube. You could look it up. Not a good video at all. And I started doing videos and I worked in an office. And I remember the hate that I got was shocking. Like, I had people come up to me directly, tell me I was wasting my money. You don't need to do this and blah, blah, blah. And years went on. And I still remember getting like screenshots of stuff from people I trust in the industries of like people talking trash. And it hurt in the beginning. And then I realized haters are just confused admirers. And they're usually just jealous of something that like they wish they would have thought of or they tried to do. But what I found was building bridges over time with people and like sharing secrets of like, this is not, I didn't come up with the idea. I copied somebody else. You can try it too. And like what I do is going to be different than you. There's interesting people that maybe threw shade early on that became collaborators. And that whole 4 kind of types of people thing I spoke about earlier, as I started realizing the right people kind of fell away and the right people came towards me, that's where I was like, oh, okay, like we can all be in the industry together and find success. The people that are doing video in your market now, do you think that there's some of those people that you can collaborate with or you've found good synergies with?
Yeah, totally. So one, I had to prove myself that it actually does work. I am able to do the jobs, do the videos, that sort of thing. And then I was getting, once people saw that it was actually working, and they're like, oh, wow, she actually is doing very well. Is this because of your videos? And same sort of thing. I don't keep things to my chest. I'm happy to tell anyone everything. It's not a secret.
Sure.
I can tell you what I did and how I did it. It's whether you're going to actually do it. And that's what I always say. Chris taught me that. So yes, now I have some agents who have been in it 15, 20, 30 years who are coming to me and saying, hey, Carrie, how do you do this? Or what do you put your phone on? Or would you recommend this or that? But at the start, it was, who is this? Like, what is she doing? This is kind of embarrassing that she's doing this. And then for me, it kind of just lit a fire under my ass. I'm like, okay, right, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to go kick some ass. I'm going to do my videos and sell some houses and be fun doing it.
And now your office actually has social media training.
Interesting. They're calling you to actually come into it.
I actually said to the owner, I'm like, we should have like a studio where people can go and they can shoot content, just so that it's easy for someone to sit down and do this. And I said, what about having a social media person who can help other agents? And she's like, that's a great idea. So now we do have that. We have a production room. We have someone who helps the older agents with social media because everyone is at different levels, right? So someone who's been in it 40 years, they have the way that they're doing it, but I love that they want to grow. I love that they want to do something different. So when they do ask me questions, I'm like, yes, because I'm probably going to ask them questions. They know things I don't know.
For sure.
I just happen to know video and social media, and I know a lot of other stuff that I don't know, right? But I want to collab with them. So yeah, the owner of the brokerage was really happy to implement a lot of social media things when she saw it.
You run at the pace of the people you get around doing these events. It's literally why I do it. It's for myself as much as everybody else in the room because I would like hear what people are up to. And I got a bunch of inspiration and ideas from Tom. I'm sure I will from this conversation. Also, the collaboration piece, you get far further ahead than you do alone. Like Nathan back there, I mean, we were talking earlier about how when he joined Prime, we just did everything together. Nobody knew what we were up to because social media wasn't as big as it was now. As we collaborate on stuff now, he crushes St. Thomas Luxury Properties, Elgin County. He knows that area even better than I do. So if he's putting something on social and I'm putting something on social and all of a sudden we're collaborating on it, there's an overlap where people in my network probably are curious about what's happening in St. Thomas with VW and Amazon and Port Stanley and the restaurant Riva we just posted about. Like, if you're in London, it's only 25, 30 minutes away. You go to a world-class restaurant with a great Italian chef. You wouldn't have known that if there wasn't that synergy and that collaboration. And I think rather than getting stuck, only focused on what you're doing, getting around other people and meeting them where they're at, like you said, older people that are trying to learn social media for the first time, there's such a beauty in that for you. I mean, you're a black belt when it comes to camera work, your YouTube side of things and everything else. There's a joy in being able to bounce between black belts, purple belts, blue belts, and white belts. I guess, what has the relationship been like with you being in the creator space, you being in the real estate space, wanting to execute content? Like, you want to do your thing your way. You probably have a very artistic approach to things. I'd love to know what the dynamics like at home with you two.
It's definitely changed. Like, it's definitely gone through a lot of like iterations, because when we first started, it was kind of like all me, all my ideas, my execution. Sure. But
Because you know it works.
yeah, I know what works. But we learned over, like, I was implementing I was telling Carrie what to do, what worked for me.
Sure.
But she learned pretty quickly on that some of the aspects that I was telling her didn't necessarily translate well to her audience and to the niche. So certain things I was telling her not to include in their videos, certain things not to do, she tried them out and realized they actually did work for her, which didn't work for me. So
Like a call to action.
call to action,
I
like,
was like, you were so wrong. No, I need that. And then once I started doing it, within like a week, I was getting calls from YouTube.
and call to action is like, follow me below, or don't forget to subscribe, or something like that. Whereas in my kind of space, that's unnecessary wasted time that people don't necessarily want to listen to.
Because you're talking about gear, information. And
People like click on my stuff for information about a product that they potentially wanted to buy.
I can't look at his channel because it makes me want to buy diaries.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Anything that's new that's coming out, that kind of thing. So like they come to me for a specific reason, less opposed to like my opinions and that kind of thing. Whereas for you, they want your opinions, the information, they want to learn who you are. So a little bit of extra time just asking to subscribe is warranted.
Yeah, and I think being thoughtful about your deployment through trying it and seeing what works. I guess, how do you track that? Was it literally just organically seeing when you would get phone calls off your videos?
Yeah, exactly. And mainly when I just stopped listening to you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It works.
Yeah, because we were just completely separate. We are doing completely different things. And like Tom was saying, when people call me, because half my business is YouTube, that is where I get my clientele relocating. People call me, they know who I am. I was just authentic on my channel. Who you see on my channel is who you're gonna get sitting right here. And once I got, because you have such a way of doing it, because you've done it for years, that I was getting in my head that I have to think, okay, I have to do it how Chris does. This is what he does for a living. He knows how to do it. And I just was being me. That's when it started to work. So did I actually track it? No, it was within the first couple videos. And then whether they were seeing the other videos or not. And like I said, I don't actually care about the views and the subscriber count, because I think I had 150 subscribers, 200 subscribers, and I had my first phone call from YouTube. So, and then within a few months, my first one that closed. So, and I just hit, I think I'm not even at 1,100 yet, but just this year, I think it was about 12 deals I did closed on YouTube. And like I said, I'm only in my third year. So it doesn't take long if you're authentic on who you are.
It's interesting that you say that, because in the previous podcast that we did with Tom Story, I talked about how the views and the subscribers are what people are chasing. On YouTube, click-through rate and retention are what actually matter, right? Like, are people clicking on your videos? Because if they don't, they're never going to find it. Are they actually watching your videos? Because I would rather spend a year working on that to find the right avatar. Can you dig into that a little bit?
It really depends on the kind of the niche you're in. Like for me, how I measure success is how well the video did, really, in terms of views. Like subscribers don't really matter anymore, but generally we can say, well, a video did well if it had a good amount of views.
Do you base that on previous views and like having an idea of what your baseline would be?
Yeah, like it's kind of bait. Like you get some that are outliers that do really, really well, sure, and you get others that don't do so well. But generally speaking, like I know what a good video is going to be in terms of views. Also, YouTube kind of gives you an indication. They give you like a score out of 10.
Sure.
So when you post a video, if you get a 10 out of 10, that sounds like it's a good thing. That's actually the worst you possibly could get. It's
Ranking out of 10, right?
you're always striving for that 1 out of 10, and they actually give you like little fireworks when you get 1 out of 10. So like there's always this game of 5. But generally speaking, yeah, like you know what you should be getting in terms of views if it's a good video.
What was that iteration process like to get to that point where you understood, like, I guess what got you into YouTube and how did you go from that to where you're at today?
What got me into YouTube was being someone that watched the videos that now I make. This was an interest that I had. Like I was interested in cameras. It was a hobby, and I saw people talking about gear that they had, what they liked, what they didn't like. And from there, I just decided, well, I can do this too. Started making videos and started getting the feedback from people. Thank you for making this. It really helped with my buying decision, which is basically why I do it. Like I help people make buying decisions. I teach them about gear, that kind of thing. And from there, it just kind of grew into this much bigger thing. It's now I get to work with all the brands that make the gear and help them make decisions. And it's really grown. It's like,
And make movies and
make movies and like do all kinds of crazy things that don't really make sense in life, but they are here.
The War of Art is a great book that I read years ago, and it talks about musicians, artists, and in my mind, business people. Just doing the thing is what produces the results. Sitting down and calling 20 people a day, you're not going to not be able to find business if you do that consistently 5 days a week, right? Same thing, putting out videos consistently. Just make videos, and eventually you'll figure out what type of videos you should be making that bring you joy and find the right type of clientele. Do you feel like you're in that space, in the real estate space right now as well?
for sure. But I do have to say, like, I feel like you have to be authentic to who you are.
Yeah.
Because I do see some people do videos and I cringe. Like, I just am like, you are doing it because everyone else has told you to, or you think it's the right thing. Then don't do videos, or be the person that points. Like, we have a friend who, he's like, I just hate videos. And Chris is like, okay, then be on YouTube and be the person that points to stuff and don't show your face or something like that. Faceless.
And it's literally a YouTube niche. She's faceless.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just feel like you really have to be authentic, because one of my biggest compliments, I think I said it already, was just when they meet me in person, I am the exact same. So when I see people doing videos sometimes and then I meet them, I'm like, oh, that is not who you are. And I just feel they're not doing a service to themselves, basically, by not being authentic to who they are. So if you really hate video, don't do video. Do something else. And that's kind of my...
I mean, there's even, going down the wormhole of streamers, right? You look at kids that are, my parents used to yell at me for playing video games. There's kids making millions of dollars now playing video games. But a lot of them too, like, they've gamified it to the point where you see some people that use fear or anger or they're trolling to get a response to encourage comments and views, and they create a baseline subscription of all these people that don't track to who they are. I've heard of streamers and people that are in their ecosystem that hate their life and wish they never did it, even though they're making millions of dollars, because their lives are miserable, and now that they feel they're attached to this audience and like they're being held hostage and they can't be who they actually want to be.
Yeah, they've essentially created a character online that isn't who they are in real life. And so they can't really lead the life that they want to live anymore. Yeah.
It's dangerous. Well, even with some celebrities, I remember one was talking about his daughter, that she put out some video on TikTok and it went absolutely viral, and it was kind of a little bit of self-deprecation in the video. And he immediately took it down because he's like, for the rest of her life, she'll be known as this person, not who she actually is, and she'll be defined by this. And it's crazy because kids these days, and even people our age, are chasing virality, sacrificing who they are as an actual person because they think that's what's going to give them success, when in reality it's not. I think it's actually getting to the core of what actually brings you joy. What type of content do you like to create? Does it attract the right type of clientele? And are you doing the right type of business? Because every year, this is a great time of year to sit down and look at the year ahead and be like, hey, loved working with these types of clients. I absolutely hated these transactions. Love doing this type of marketing, hated this type of marketing, and just getting clearer on that picture every year. What type of clientele are you chasing in 2025, and what type? YouTube?
Always YouTube. I do love a good open house. But
Or a mastermind, right?
yeah, I love a good open house. I'm a people person. I like hearing people's stories, get to know people. But YouTube is great because they already know me. And so I don't need to prove myself. What they see is what they get. So I need to get better with that. But as you know, the busier you get, I've been slacking on my YouTube. Your time gets short, and you have to look where you're going to put your efforts. I'm a perfectionist. I want my clients to have everything and it be top notch. I don't want to be a 3-star type of agent, as Tom was saying, right? Like I want to give full service. So now my channel is actually suffering because I'm focusing on my clients and giving them the best service. So for 2025, I'm pivoting a bit, like with teaming up with people, starting a team,
Sure.
and then being able to focus more of my energy on YouTube.
People don't realize that like YouTube in itself
It's
is
a
a
job.
job. They like it's like that is my technically full-time job.
Yeah.
So to be a real estate agent and to have YouTube, like it's something has to give. You're at the point now where you're like, you do need a team, like you need a filmer, you need an editor, like you have, because it's the only way you can grow both at the same time.
And I do have one, but
It's those are the, but so here comes my common argument. It's like, well, I need you to help me film me. It's like, great, but I need to kind of do my own thing as well. Like I have brands that are relying on me for contracts I have to finalize. So it's always an ongoing battle that we have.
The challenge you have is he already knows how you think, right? So like working with Nico, for example, is super valuable to me. And I want him to spread his wings and fly, where we always kind of work through that dynamic where I'm like, okay, how can I empower you to do that while not having to start over with somebody else from the standpoint where he knows how I think, he knows what my output looks like, what I care about that matters, what doesn't matter, that can be a throwaway. And I think it's like with you guys as a couple that way. I'll tell you as an agent that does YouTube and runs the brokerage and sells, what I found was time blocking for me is how I solved for that. Because I used to think I need to write every day, and I do journal every day. But like when I write for REM, I know it's Wednesday mornings or Saturday mornings, usually Saturday mornings. When I write my mindset pieces for my team or the videos I create on YouTube for my channel, Saturday mornings. And I just know like over time through trial and error, when my brain was in that energy level, kind of where I could operate in that zone where it didn't take a lot of extra effort. When I was the most creative, it was usually hiking on the beach or when I wasn't around devices. And then other times when we do training, like we work forever on this with the team. It's now Tuesdays at 10:30. It's not at 9 o'clock when the whole world's coming at you. Like we get our morning routine done, we get our important stuff done first, and then we're in a good mindset. So like Tuesdays at the office are our training days, prospecting days. We're in the trenches. Thursday's media day. So maybe it's something similar for yourself where you're like, here's when I'm touching my prospects on a weekly basis, finding them opportunities. This is the day when I'm taking it for myself to unplug and create and just even come up with the ideas. Don't shoot on that day, you shoot on another day.
so that's my problem. I like to think of the idea and then shoot.
Yeah.
Because then it's
You're in the moment.
I'm in the moment.
Yeah.
And so I do time block. My problem is the discipline of sticking with it because I get excited of when I get a new idea. I'm like, hey, Chris, let's go. We're going right now.
Meanwhile, I have like 2 days of stuff planned. I'm like, okay, well, I can fit you in probably Friday. And then we'll shoot it, and she'll be like, I'm done. That all the take was fine.
I married one of those. Shannon's that same way too, where I'm very structured. It's interesting because she is like, we went through a RICO and a CRA audit and she killed it. The auditor was like, you're doing too much. Like she's very detailed, except when we travel. When we were on our honeymoons, we went to Rome initially for 2 weeks. She's like, I have an idea. I'm like, okay, what's that? She's like, I'd love to go to England and like Ireland because that's where my family's from. Oh, we could fly there. She's like, no, I kind of want to drive. And I'm like, what do you mean? So anyways, the whole trip was us picking a different city every basically couple days and going there.
Yep.
But I think there's something there where I wouldn't lose that side of you, or that spur of the moment, you're in that real authenticity side of things, being able to shoot using things like the DJI Osmos and just allowing you to have that flow. What I was saying from the time blocking perspective that worked for me anyways was over time just reviewing the last week and then re-implementing what does the perfect week look like for me next week? Like, am I making time to go out for lunch with the boys and do the things we need to do to make sure that I'm moving those relationships forward in the right direction because they matter to me, right? Am I making time for my clients and not taking on too many clients myself so that I can actually give them the attention that they actually want.
Yeah.
And I know the important work is your YouTube channel. You said it. For John Dacre that was here, I don't know if he's here right now, but we were talking earlier. I'm like, it's sitting down and talking about systems and processes. Like, by just not stressing about doing everything at once and just trying to do a little bit every single week, I think that's how you, like, I've seen such growth in your social channels and your journey from the time that I've known you just by doing the thing, right? And I think you're going to continue growing if you put effort into the right things. When you shoot on YouTube, what types of videos are you shooting that you enjoy and that actually produce the leads?
I love the house tours. They're great. A lot of people want to know about Peterborough, things that you can't find on the internet, about parking or something like that. But those are the main ones, is the tours, right? Like Peterborough has like a county, so you can go to all the different, like Millbrook or Norwood, the new developments that are coming in. I did one on Millbrook. It's becoming the new Brookland. The 407 got extended. There's a new subdivision going in, that the school's at capacity. Like, you wouldn't know that unless you were actually there. So I will go to city council meetings, and like, I'm just sitting there and I'm listening and I'm taking it in. I'm like, oh, this will be great on YouTube. And then I know from my clients as well. So I love those just for me personally, but then also the consumer loves it. And then I'm able to reiterate that when I meet them, right?
And that ties in with your brand, because she rebranded recently to like be living in Peterborough. It's part of the brand. So like that really ties in really well with that. And these are all little details that anyone can go and find on Google, but like you're giving a video version of it that no one else has. So it's
And no one does video in Peterborough. So I mean, it was easy.
yeah.
I don't know how many people, wow, everyone I think at Prime does YouTube, right?
No, not at all, actually. So like Mark Tyson's a really good example of somebody that doesn't love doing video. And I was like, dude, you don't have to be me. I like doing video. I've always had a camera in my hand. I still remember when I was a kid, I took the movie Spaceballs and I re-edited it using the worst software ever. I thought it was hilarious. Like, it was a assignment we got in school. Nobody laughed except me. But I loved, it made me happy to do it. So like, I like creating content, but it doesn't mean you have to. Like, what do you like to do? He's like, I like playing hockey, golf, and squash. I'm like, there's a multi-million-dollar business sitting there. Just go play a lot of hockey, golf, and squash. Don't talk about real estate. Everybody there is going to know you're an agent, and they're going to ask you questions about real estate. And guess what? That's one of the ways he finds a lot of success, is going and playing squash, golf, and hockey. And they just know he's an agent, right? And I think it's part of that kind of refining process and not being scared to try things and fall on your face.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you, like, who I thought I was when I started this career to who I am today is completely different. And who I am today, and people may think I am, versus who I'm going to be next year, is going to be vastly different. Probably because I have somebody in my corner like my Chris Shannon will give me that raw feedback on. It's almost like find people who believe in you more than you believe in yourself, right? And there's probably a bit of that going on.
Oh yeah. There's so many times that I'm like, oh, this is terrible. He's like, what do you mean this is terrible? He's like, you outbeat so many people who've been in it 20 plus years. So I'm like, nah, not good enough. No, we got to do it better. He's like, you got to take the win. I'm like, yeah, no, but that I'm just my worst critic. So to have someone in my corner who is like, no, it's good. I think everyone needs that.
Is he like that though? Oh, is he a critic about himself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the worst.
Yeah. It's really bad.
And slower executing ideas that are probably good. Like, I'm my own worst critic. Yeah.
But I think there's a balance to that too, because we've gone through such a wormhole of short-term attention span, instant gratification, allergic to accountability, a loss of cinematography, and like good movies. I'm watching movies from back in the day that were great stories, shot incredibly well. It's hard for kids to watch movies these days. Like, all they do is TikTok and they scroll every 2 seconds.
And we're talking about YouTube. Meanwhile, I'm like, kids, you are not watching YouTube. I'm like, you are not watching that. I'm like, that 1 minute video, YouTube Shorts, get off it.
The very first time I took the kids to we have 2 kids, 4 and 5, 5 and 6 now. The very first time I took them to the movies, one of them didn't like it and asked if we could change the movie. Like, that.
Doesn't work like that.
I text a couple of my friends after. I'm like, this is where we're at right now, just so everyone knows. Like, so like,
I died inside.
But I actually do think like there's a training that they're going through as children where we're actively trying. It's interesting. We don't have to try too hard with Faith, but she is creative on her own. She gets her hand dirty. She cooks, she bakes, she comes up with business ideas. Like, the imagination of the kid's incredible. She's never touched anything with short-term kind of scrolling on purpose because of that. Because I think it's so important for that creative outlet to get refined, right? And I do think that there's value in that where your audience probably follows you because they appreciate a certain amount of quality that you put into your videos. And your audience will follow you because there's a certain amount of authenticity of like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know that was happening in Peterborough. And they may not buy now, but when it comes time for them to make that decision, they've developed that relationship with you, even though you've never met them. And Canadians are funny because every person's a friend you just haven't met. And the tools can find the right people for you. Like these multi-billion-dollar companies can be such a good tool, but they can also destroy your life if the tool uses you versus you using the tool. That makes sense?
Very much so, yeah.
So 2 questions I have for you. I'm going to ask you first, then you. How are you using tools today, maybe versus how you have in the future? Because YouTube's changing and Instagram's changing and YouTube's changing. So you first, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts.
When you say tools, what do you mean? Give me an example of a tool.
So a lot of times people think YouTube's just a video platform for uploading videos. To me, it's a search engine, like primarily, right? So rather than me just sitting there consuming videos on YouTube, I'm actively using the tool. But is YouTube changing the way that videos are being distributed? Are you looking at your analytics a lot in terms of the tool before you make your videos?
Yeah, like there's a lot of AI tools out there now and a lot of like YouTube management tools that you can like log into your account. It'll pull the data, it'll accumulate everything for you, and it will kind of tell you based off these videos, you should make more of these videos. Like there's a ton of stuff out there like that now. There's a ton of things with AI, like you can punch in your idea for a title and it'll give you 10 other titles. It'll probably perform better. These are all things like 2 years ago did not exist. And these are the difference now of like a video doing well versus not doing well. You can even like upload your face to a YouTube thumbnail generator and it will give you like 5 ideas based off of that.
Bro, solution.
There's all kinds of like wild things that you can do now.
Yeah.
AI, like I think anything is a huge part and is going to be a huge part of it. But one thing you are starting to see for YouTube is the increase of people watching YouTube on TV.
Yeah, for sure.
They're sitting down actually watching TV because you can pull in your analytics, like where people are viewing it on their phone, their iPads, through an Android device, iOS device. But one of the big ones is desktop, which is like not desktop, TV.
Yeah.
First, like, do you need to explain what it
Well,
is?
smart. You think of, so adaptation of technology, right? Talk about virtual reality, augmented reality. It'll catch when the consumers feel like the technology is just easy, just point, click. And think about on your phone, if you're watching a YouTube video, cast it to your TV. It's very easy to do. Now it's built into TVs. You don't even touch your phone. We went to an Airbnb, just log into my YouTube account, and then was able to watch my videos while I'm sitting there cooking. And they actually said it's YouTube is starting to pass the streaming services. And I think that's why Netflix is getting into gaming and fighting and sports and everything too, right? I think that's going to change in the future.
Very much so, yeah.
So it's not too late to get into, say, YouTube if you're...
Oh, it's never too late. It's harder. It's definitely harder because the bar keeps going up in terms of like the quality level, but you can still get in easy, yeah.
Depending what your niche is, too.
Yeah, there's always gonna be space as well. There's always new niches created as well, right?
If you're an Asian Peterborough, there's not a ton of competition right now. So it's not like...
Yeah, so get on it.
camera creators. Do you translate a lot of your content from YouTube over to, say, Instagram? And are you strategic in trying to pull people
No,
that way?
not. My Instagram is what I'm thinking sometimes, and I just put it out there.
Yeah. So I'll be honest with you, like your Instagram is what keeps me in touch with you a lot of times too. Like I'll DM on there because I want the algorithm to feed me your content so I can support it.
Yeah.
Like the algorithm will suppress people's content that aren't in community with you, right? So I'll actively, instead of just texting you, sometimes message there so that I could support you there.
Yeah.
And I do feel like it keeps me in touch with what's happening in Peterborough and your business. So I think there's a ton of value there from that standpoint. But it's interesting to see the focus on YouTube versus what I see on Instagram.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a different clientele. Like I feel like Instagram is to keep exactly that, keep in touch with people. I'm not getting people DMing me saying, let's go list my house or let's do a home evaluation or something like that. But I'll see people in town, or Costco's a great one. Go to Costco if you want to see people. And I saw your video, it was great, or I saw your new listing, or I like to keep it fun, upbeat, fresh. Like I just did something with the Grinch for close to Christmas. So I had a lot of people talking to me about that. But again, like that's who I am. I like to do fun, upbeat things. So Instagram is just more of to stay relevant. Stay relevant.
What we figured out recently for you is like Instagram is for you.
Yeah.
Like Instagram is for you and your personal brand. If people want to see more of you, sure. Whereas YouTube is like for the client. Sure. Like,
Yeah.
I think Instagram will be an intersection of your professional and your personal brand, right? We do the same thing. So Prime is buyers, sellers, investors, very much consumer driven. And Nathan, Lynette, Atlanta, anybody can put their content on that channel from my team, independent of Justin. Justin's where we're going to find the intersection of people that are in entrepreneurship and have connections across North America, maybe have an interest in real estate. But if you want to see what's happening behind the scenes here, that's where you're going to find it. It's interesting to watch all these behemoth companies battle it out, though. I feel like it's Godzilla versus King Kong. One person's on top one day, then the next person rips off their idea and implements it. And we're all just the little peons underneath them just trying to implement, right? But I think that there's a conversation to be had around the skill set as detached from the tool. So like people will build an audience on YouTube, and then all of a sudden YouTube goes away. But you have the skill set and you can reapply it anywhere else. Like, what are your thoughts around that? Like, what skills have you learned from creating content that you think transition the actual platform?
ooh, that's a tough one because every content or every platform doesn't respond the same way to each piece of content. So I think you really have to, that's why I think some people do better on TikTok versus they do on Instagram. Because I should take the same video on Instagram, put it on TikTok, and it might get 2 million on Instagram, but it might get 20,000 on TikTok.
Sure.
Honestly, the biggest thing I can say to people that is like focus on like 2 platforms and don't really don't try and go like 30% on this, 30% on this, 30% on this, go 50-50 on 2 or like 70-30 on 2 or like, I don't know, I don't try and spread myself too thin on 2 different, too many.
And now you're Instagram, right? Like, I mean, you are YouTube, but
Well, I started YouTube, but like Instagram became my bigger thing like 2 years ago.
Interesting.
I had a couple of reels that did very, very well and immediately realized, oh, I'm actually better at this than I am at this. So it kind of...
Do you like the aesthetic of Instagram too? Like the grid? I find you have a very nice stylized grid.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think my mind works better with the little, like coming up with things on the spot way better, which for a lot of people that I like hang out with and collaborate with, they're not able to do that. And they were able to do it better for YouTube. So I think Instagram for me just clicked.
and you're good at doing that on anything. Like I brought him, so I had a pretty high-end listing go up and same sort of thing. Like I wanted people to come. So I said, okay, Chris is gonna do a class on social media. And again, a lot of people in Peterborough didn't know a lot of things about social media. So he came in and he was saying anyone can do it. You literally would like point at something and say, make a video on this. And people, you have to train your brain to think a certain way.
That's it.
So you're really good at seeing something and just creating content out of it.
Yeah. A great analogy I can give you for YouTube versus short form is like YouTube is like a book or a chapter of a book. Instagram or TikTok or whatever is like a sentence or a paragraph.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. That's the way you should look at it. So like you might have a book of information, but you can make that book of information 50 different pieces of content, giving the same information, just split up.
Should I put you on the spot? Should I do something now?
No, not today.
Yeah, I was like,
I was like, should we do a...
looking at the carpet, a bottle of water, the charcuterie boards.
Generally, like what, where, how, why, you pick one feature and it's like, that's it.
Yeah.
You can about anything.
And you're telling, and that's the interesting thing is YouTube, like you said, is like a book or a chapter where you're telling a comprehensive story, start, middle, end. I done a couple courses. I did Casey Neistat's The Art of Documentary as well too, to see how they storytell. But Instagram, like the one short piece of content can stand on its own.
Oh, yeah.
Where it is a sentence or 2 sentences and people feel good about that. And that's where like, the cautious side of me, making sure the younger generation understands the value of a complete story, but also not being afraid of the new technology and that the short form content serves a purpose, but it's just understanding to not let it, make you too addicted to the dopamine and how to kind of interject and pull yourself out of there at the same time, right? So I don't want to make this too long because I know you have a long drive on the way home, but one question I definitely have for you guys is, how do you find success as a couple? You guys seem to have a great relationship. You have a work-life balance. You're traveling, doing things together. What are some critical things that you've done to maintain a strong relationship despite the fact that you have 2 very demanding careers?
I think that's actually something like we are constantly trying to like get better at, and we have identified it like recently of pillars we're moving back towards.
Sure.
Like we have goals to start like a podcast back, like bring our brands back together. Sure. I think, and that's something we're trying to.
Yeah, and for me, I am a social butterfly, so I'm at the office every single day talking to people because, again, being around people, learning from people, right? So I love it, but also I thought, okay, well, this isn't great for us. You have your own studio space. We create together.
Yeah, sure.
So now I just make sure that I go to his office in the morning. And it's really annoying in Peterborough. You have to move your car every 2 hours
Yeah.
with parking. Anyways, it's annoying. So I just go for the 4 hours.
Move the car once.
The first 2 are free. And then, anyways, yeah.
Even 2 hours together makes a big difference.
For sure.
Because when I get interrupted when I'm thinking, I'm like, hey, after those 4 hours, I'm
Yeah.
out. I
Yeah.
spent the morning with you. That's the
Yep.
creative time, got what I need to. We talk about whatever video, we bounce ideas off each other.
But that's enough because we often might not even get an evening together because someone's out or the kids get put to bed and then we're both too drained to like even have a proper conversation. So like those 2 hours could be great, or working, or we go for a lunch together. Just have something that you can kind of stick to in terms of a schedule. I think is a huge part of it.
So we're working through the time blocking as we speak. We're going to find a time for your clients, a time to create the video, spur of the moment. I think there's a lot to be said for that, like being intentional with your time. We were talking off camera earlier, and every couple in this room could probably attest to it. When you're in some type of business or life together, a lot of times you have to have very important conversations in 15 minutes because that's all you have. And you're like, here's this massive thing we need to talk about. Here's 15 minutes. Let's just deal with it. And you're kind of falling forward. I do think when you start getting into that cycle, like, oh yeah, I'm going to be with her for 2 hours on this day, just tackle it then. You can make a list. You don't have to interrupt each other's days. And you just know that you have that cycle. And we use Dan Martell's principle of offloading.
Yeah.
Where like even with the assistants at Prime, I don't message them unless it's critical. We'll go through our sync board every day and be like, oh yeah, I thought of this yesterday. You know, this needed to be changed, whatever. Just goes on the offload list. And then we bang through it. So there's no micro interruptions during the day. And when you're in the zone of creating, you're in the zone of creating. And then when you're at the office, I bet you're having even more fun because then you get to be in that genius zone where you love being around people. It's funny because being around a lot of people sometimes, I'm an introverted extrovert where I'll get exhausted and I will veg out tonight and do nothing. I don't want to talk to anybody, right? Which is that's just life. I appreciate you guys so much. I want you to definitely start that podcast because I think this dynamic, you guys all agree, this would be really good on camera if they did this on a regular.
We used to, but life got busy.
Well, you've got a whole bunch of subscribers here in this room watching, definitely watching the replays after. I'll send you guys all the content. I got a couple rapid fire questions for you and then I'll get you out of here. What do you think the future of real estate is for agents in terms of how they move in the industry?
You have to grow with it. Like, I think technology is going to be huge, but I also think that us as agents, like, you have to know, that's not your shit, but you have to know your numbers. You have to be good at negotiations. I think that technology is going to shape a lot. AI is going to bring a lot. I have this vision that I want to be able to go into a room because there's so many times I want that wall down, or I don't know if my couch would fit there or something like that. So I want to bring AI into my business and even like virtual headsets, and they can do it right then and there. So I think I see real estate changing technology-wise huge, absolutely. Like
100%. So I actually bought the Vision Pro. I bought it actually for the mobile workstation.
Okay.
Because like we travel a lot in our RV. I'm often traveling for speaking and stuff like that too. So having my Mac virtual display was the reason I bought it, so I could edit videos and do everything. Nobody else buy it. It's a waste of money for most of the people. I had a very specific use where it makes me money.
It's a lot of money too.
It is. I actually went through therapy with my wife because I'm like, I think I made a mistake. And the next day I was like, it was great. And
that was like you and
yeah, but I can tell you I made it work because I kept up with it enough where it's a great second display for me. The technology, though, I'm telling all of you, when they do make it small and fast enough and affordable enough, which it is coming, is going to do what she said. Like, I've already talked to builders about this, man, how cool would it be if you can go in and say, we want to redo these floors in a dark oak and we want to change the glass to wood or iron. And that's all going to be very easily done through tactile feedback, and the technology will catch up. It's probably going to be AR first before it goes to VR. But I think you're absolutely right. I also think with AI, making YouTube videos, dude, what I used to do, you probably laugh because it's like maybe 2 stripe blue belt level. it would take me 4 hours to like really script a video the way I wanted it. So I'd go shoot a neighborhood tour video or something like that. I can do it now with the recipes I've created in probably under 10 minutes. I can do the 10% input, let it do the 80% of the work, and then I can do the human tweaking to make sure it's my voice after. What do you think the future is for real estate agents when it comes to video and content?
A lot more personal branding, a lot more people just kind of putting themselves out there and for people to find them. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. Like people just being their own brand, whatever it is they're interested in, like however much they want to be involved in the video aspect of it, if it's their face or not their face, sure, like a lot more of that to kind of grow with the generation that is wanting that.
And what he said is key. You do not have to be on camera. Faceless channels and faceless content are just as good. If you like writing, write. If you like taking photos, take photos. You don't have to be in the pictures. If you like doing video and being on video, I do think it's the most powerful because you could do video and then break it into photo, text, and it becomes a pillar piece of content. What do you think agents are doing wrong when it comes to content?
What do I think they're doing wrong? From the videos that I watch, too much information, I would say. Like put less info. I'm talking more here for short form like content.
Sure.
Less information that kind of gets people more interested in seeing more from them. Maybe they go show a house and they have like one video that's like 5 short different clips. They can click on their profile, see the 5 other parts of the house that they want to go see, or niche down even more.
Interesting.
Maybe be an agent that only does like budget houses or only does tiny homes or something like that. Like really niche down.
Christina Smallhorn, the girl I referenced earlier, that's what she figured out. She's like, her Frank or her person's affordable housing. It's a guy that could care less about the environment. If it all burned down, he didn't care. He just cared about affordable housing, and that's who she makes videos for. What do you think agents do wrong in the industry or in content wise?
I think sell. Honestly, I feel like if you're knowledgeable and you're a good person and you know your numbers, you don't need to sell the house. The house will sell itself.
Sure.
I think there's too much of that sales. I don't like the selling aspect of it. For me, I just go in, I say what I need to say. I say I'm just authentic. Like I said, if you're going to get the person who's going to sell your house for $1 million. It's not worth that, but I always say, yeah, like you're buying the data doesn't show it, right? You're buying, we call it buying the listing, but I said, yeah, you'll get someone. I'm not your agent.
Sure.
Because I want your house to sell, right? So I think there's a lot of, especially in PR, just salesy people. And I think that we're getting into a market where people don't want to be sold. Like they have a lot of tools to them. They just want someone to help. Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like people they don't want to be sold. They just want information.
Well, I think the consumer is way more empowered and intelligent than they've ever been. And I think agents patronize them, right? I think that's what you're talking about is, and I've had this issue a little bit where I've talked to agents at things like this, and then you talk behind them, closed doors with them, and they're a different person than they are on camera. And I think the more they can be themselves on camera, wrinkles and all, and work with people and, understand that the consumer's educated, the more they'll find success. The more they niche down too, I do think that's the future as well. The more you know who you are, what your unique value proposition is, and you speak to the clientele that actually wants that, better off you're going to be. Because maybe there are people out there that want that salesy person. That's great. They'll go find those people the more they're that person. But the person who's on the other side of the fence, I think you'll find them. So appreciate you guys a lot. Everybody grab some food and water and coffee before you bounce. But looking out for your podcast and hopefully made some new friends here. So appreciate you guys coming out.
Thanks for having us.